What's up, everybody? A few minutes late, but it's still a Life on Life's Terms podcast. And I'm Tom Robinson, a grateful recovering addict. And like I always say, we're not affiliated with any 12-step program. Although we do endorse them, we do love them. We have benefit from them.
Yes, we do. My name is Chris Mandeville. I'm a recovered heroin addict. We're here at a New Way Recovery Center in Quincy, Mass. On Quincy Ave.
It's a great place.
Lots of resources here, lots of meetings every day.
Tonight there's a
woman's nurturing meeting where they cook dinner and
all that nurturing stuff.
Yep. There's lots of meetings here, and it's not just 12-step stuff. There's veterans meetings. They post it every day, what's going on. So,
anyway,
LOLTerms.com.
please subscribe.
Yes, like, subscribe, share this podcast now.
Yes, please do.
If you wouldn't mind.
The audio podcast sounds fantastic. It's on iTunes. It's on the Google Play Store. It's on
Spotify. What else have I found? We're also on YouTube.
Yeah, we're on YouTube.
And for anyone that is hearing impaired, you can click on the subtitles. And
that's right.
It'll do its best to transcribe what we say.
Yeah.
So next week, we will not be broadcasting.
Unfortunately,
because the following week we will be going live from the Recovery Rocks concert out in Scituate.
We are live.
So it's a mandatory meeting that we have to attend out in Scituate next
mandatory meeting.
Thursday.
Sounds like the treatment house.
Yeah, mandatory. I know. Mandatory house meeting. Who's this about? Freedom. You.
Oh boy.
So tonight we have Nicole Bancroft.
Yes.
Bancroft. She goes by Nikki. She was referred to us from Stacia, who was on last week.
A week before.
No, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I had tried getting you on before, and the timing wasn't right, so she's here now. And
timing's right now.
Yes, she's going to share her experience, strength, and hope with us, and that's what we do.
And that's that.
Yes.
And that's that.
So we'll turn it over to her, and I'm sure we'll interrupt her plenty of times.
She was born very young.
Please
Yeah.
do. A little nervous, been a while. Especially now you're like, oh, we're on YouTube, we're on iTunes, so now I'm just going to be even more nervous, but I might just keep my eyes closed a little bit.
That's
or,
all
I
right.
don't know.
No,
all right.
no need
Whatever.
to be nervous.
Whatever works.
It's all good. If you could just keep the mic close to you.
So, my name's Nikki. I am in recovery. Been in and out for a very, very long time. Picked up at a very young age.
So how old were you when you first tried getting sober?
First really, really getting sober, I was 21, I believe. I had done a couple programs before that, but it was mostly just to please the courts.
Yeah. The heat was on. Let me get these people off my back.
Yeah.
What can I do instead of going to jail?
Don't want to go back to jail.
Yeah.
Figure a program's a little bit better.
Yeah, I made that mistake.
Yeah.
I was like, the basement of Quincy Court, and they said, do you want to go to detox or jail? I said, detox. Detox was in Bridgewater State Prison. Okay.
You want to go to
Catch
jail
22.
or jail?
So,
I remember that
all right, you
myself.
picked up at a real young age, you said?
Really
how
young
old?
age. I started drinking at maybe about 12, and then, pills, coke, everything else at 14.
Yeah.
It's a little early. 13's usually the year, I think, for
Yeah.
the most part.
And you said you're from Saugus.
Yep, from Saugus. I was born in Malden, moved to Saugus when I was 10. Didn't really kind of fit in with the kids in that high school and found
Shout
my
out
own
to
little crowd.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Saugus Ironworks.
Yeah.
Which is what we tend to do. We will find a place where we can make pretend that we fit in.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, you like that? Yeah, I like that too. You know.
Yeah, choose to fit in somewhere.
Yes.
Yep.
Chameleon and transform ourselves into whatever others want.
Pretty much it. So I was very young. I did my treatment out in Lynn. Kind of still did things my way. Didn't believe I had a problem.
What was the treatment? The first treatment?
My very first program was the Salvation Army in Saugus. which
All right.
Is that I think that's the original, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where your first week you make $5, but you have to pay $4 for your lock on your locker, so you get $1.
It's changed a lot since then. I guess they don't even let you go in with your own clothes or anything. But I mean, it was pretty tough when I
Yeah.
went there. They used to drive around, make sure that the guys and girls weren't at the McDonald's. You couldn't even say thank you if they tried to like hold the door open for you. There was just cameras.
No
constantly.
fraternizing whatsoever.
Nope. And I didn't grow up very religious, so morning devotions, Bible study, church on Sundays.
Yes, very different from a lot of the other things out there.
Yeah. I lasted about 3 months. And
It's a good run right there. 3 months.
yeah, met a boy, picked up, and I think I went to detox, was trying to dodge the PO, and then ended up at the Ryan House in Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
Met a boy, lasted
Tough
3
place,
months.
Ryan House.
Not when I was there.
No?
No,
Oh.
no. When I was there, it was I think it was like 90. Well, no, that's a lie. 2005. So it was very different. I heard they have a different director now, which kind of cleaned things up.
Yeah,
But,
I mean it's crazy. Like what I see happening to treatment. There's not enough of it as it is, and it's getting so fucked up that they're closing places.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like High Point, the men's treatment center, the women's treatment center, both
That's
in New
so
Bedford,
Crazy.
the Plymouth campus. Like
That's so crazy.
That's basically
that's-
what was going on.
yeah,
at
that's
the
like
Ryan
self-will
House.
run riot. It's like
You're gonna close treatment centers in the middle of a crisis.
yeah.
It's so crazy.
And that's what the woman said. I forget who she works for, what department she worked with, but she was like, we take closing treatment centers very seriously. Like, we don't want to do this,
yeah.
but it's for the safety of the clients and, for the general public.
Wow.
Like if
Yeah.
you're putting people in bad situations.
Harm's
you
way,
know.
yeah.
Like, what was one of the things? Oh, there was a guy that had overdosed and was in the hospital, and they were writing that he was still in
Oh.
detox.
Oh my.
Like signing
word.
off on him every day, like
Oh my
how,
goodness.
Yep, I've seen it.
That's ugly.
and that place was always really solid for a long time.
Yeah.
It's scary because, like you said, there's not a lot of places around, and unfortunately, it gives a bad name for people that are trying to go and get treatment, and you're supposed to be
exactly.
trusting these people
And
with your life and to.
Especially someone that has never been in it.
Yep.
And they're like, why do I want to go there? It's it can be detrimental to everyone.
And then
We
when you
should back off
finally
the
go
mics a little
somewhere that has structure and is trying to help you and show you, how to live a different life and how to get into recovery, then you don't know what to do and you rebel. And half the time I've seen people leave. I've done it before,
Yeah.
So
I don't.
Yeah.
My experience is I've been to three detoxes, I think, and one treatment center.
Yeah. So not very.
I was, like it says in some of the literature, I was pretty badly mangled.
yeah.
like-
right.
I just, and any time I went to treatment, it wasn't to get sober. It was because I didn't have any money. I didn't have a hustle, and it was spin dry, in and out.
But hold on. Let's back up for a minute.
Yeah.
What's drug of choice?
I ended with heroin.
Okay.
That's what brought me to my knees.
Right.
The way that I like to describe it is I am an alcoholic, but however, I'm addicted. Like, I'm addicted to alcohol, I'm addicted to pills, I'm addicted to tattoos and men. Anything that makes me feel better and brings me outside of myself.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I didn't know that or understand any of that.
Yes.
My mother used to tell me my father was an addict, my father was an alcoholic. I couldn't do anything, but I was never explained why. I was never explained what it was. I was brought to meetings with my father, grew up like that, and then he eventually just stopped going when I got older. So I knew what it was, but at the same time I didn't, if that kind of makes sense.
Now, did he stay sober?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
I believe he stayed sober, and then when I picked up and started using, I almost saw guilt in him, but at the same time, I found a bottle of Suboxone in his room. My mother had told me that he was taking pills or something because he hurt himself, and then started doing that.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
So
So-
yeah.
And I've heard that story about people who were alcoholics. Like,
Right.
they end up having a procedure done or hurt themselves. And now, because they've backed off of their treatment for alcoholism,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I never did this stuff, so I'll be fine.
Well, that's an important point. Alcohol is a drug.
Right.
because it's legal and you can make it by letting apple juice get rotten in the closet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Some homebrew.
You know what I'm saying? It's not any different.
No.
It's a mind-altering substance, just like heroin, just like meth.
Yeah.
Okay, alcohol is as much a drug as that, and these people don't realize it.
Yeah.
And they,
I mean, if friggin' the Shecklers could put it in a fucking pill, they'd do it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And you didn't have to drink, and you could just take a pill of alcohol.
Yeah.
If they could fucking do it, they would.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but they just haven't figured it out yet. Thank God.
Like I said, it's like anything. I didn't know what it was when I was younger, and I would just move on to the next best thing. So, like, I started with weed, and then I moved to alcohol, and I hated alcohol. And I used to throw it back so quick. I hated the taste, I hated the smell, I hated the feeling.
Yeah.
But everyone else was doing it, and it was all that you could get. You know what I mean?
Because it's hard to, like, find that combination or that, like, all right, if I do that. Because if you're an alcoholic, you're just like, give me it.
Right.
All my yets became, I'll never sniff anything, I'll never shoot anything, I'll never mix drugs, I'll never mix alcohol, and end up doing all of it by the time, like, I'm 16, you know what I mean? And it's problems with food, eating too much, eating too little, cutting, like, just anything, because I was just constantly like this. Like, I didn't know what to do with myself. And I didn't know how to, like, be
restless,
at ease.
irritable, and discontent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was never, like, really explained what was really wrong with me, like, on the inside, So, I don't know. Took a lot of life experiences to get where I'm at now.
Yep. And they all happen for a reason.
Yes, they do. But yeah, I did those programs. I got a couple years when I went out to Lynn. Still kind of did things my way. Like, I had a sponsor, but my sponsor was actually picked by my counselor at the last. So I went from Ryan House to Project Cope, which was actually a great program. They were kind of like a TC. We couldn't talk to anyone for 90 days, all women. There was children there, which was really a good experience for me because I got to be around babies and kind of like learn that different, I don't know, because you get to see people like grow. There's like mothers that didn't have their kids that were in the house that were becoming nurturing with like the children and helping mothers, and it was just a real like family.
Which is good.
Very cool.
We both went to a TC as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Wasn't no kids there, but
No. Well, there was a bunch of them there, but they were just full grown.
They were the clients.
Yeah.
I've seemed to notice that like the stricter the program, the better I do. Like the more like structure and discipline, like I'm used to that than like being told, like rather than like where it's kind of lenient, where it's like, okay, you can go out all day and like do it, like no, I can't do that. Like,
drop your bags and go get a job.
Yeah, because then you're like,
it's no good. Well, I don't know. It can be good for some people.
If you're anything like me, like I'm thinking, okay, I can fucking get over on these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very easy to, manipulate because that's what we do.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, so I don't have to check in. Like, I went through a treatment center. I was there for 8.5 months, and I never had to give them one urine. I used to come back from my fucking pass, like holding my pee. Can I give you one? You're all set. Because I was doing what I was supposed to do. They never like doubted me, which at the time I was like, what the fuck? Like everyone else is getting piss tested. Why not me? And now it's like, now I understand because, and trust and believe, I got in trouble. I definitely broke rules and, had plenty of learning experiences is what they call them.
The people there, the counselors and the people, they could, smell you from a mile away.
Yeah.
You could smell cocaine on your breath.
Yeah.
A lot of women's programs aren't like the guys' programs, though. Like, we have cell phone restrictions, curfews, like, all that stuff. And I've noticed that with a lot of the men's treatment centers, like, you guys are drop your bags and go, get your phones, like, can do a lot
turnabout
more.
The whole time you were there, you couldn't have a cell phone.
No, there was no phone.
Like, it didn't matter if you didn't have a phone. If you were there for 8 months, no, you can't have a cell phone. It's like, how am I supposed to talk to anybody? How am I supposed to get a job interview? Like, payphone right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
how am I supposed to have that girl from the meeting call me?
You only got
payphone right there.
And you only got 10 minutes or whatever it was. I don't know, it was 15 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
You
so now
sign up.
you end up at the Hope Project Hope.
Project Cope.
Cool.
in Lynn, and then I moved on to their sober house, and then got a sober apartment, and then I picked up from there. I did interferon back in the day.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
when it was rough.
When it was rough.
I remember people going through that, boy.
Oh, it was, yeah. So a month and a half in, I got really sick, and I could barely move. I couldn't, hold a fork. I couldn't turn the key to the car. I would wake up like this. And thank God, like, the boyfriend that I was living with at the time was, like, very caring and nurturing, because he would actually have to, like, get up to, like, carry me to the bathroom. And, like, for someone that's, like, independent and did everything on their own their whole life, to be, like, completely, like, helpless and, like, having to rely on somebody and being in constant pain, like, 24/7 was just, like, a complete, like, shock of reality. And they just kept telling me, like, oh, it's the interferon. And, like, I knew something else was wrong. So long story short, I ended up getting psoriasis all over me.
Yeah.
And when I went to go see the dermatologist, she told me that I had arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, and it was brought on from the interferon. So because it was so new, they never did an autoimmune panel on me.
Yeah.
And it brought everything out. So since 2008, I've had severe arthritis. And it's something, I just had knee surgery in December.
How old are
Oh,
you?
my goodness.
35. And they had been putting it off for a long time because they didn't want to do it. I take shots weekly that suppress my immune system so that, my body doesn't, like, attack
Fight itself, yeah.
There's, what's supposed to be really good for autoimmune is fasting.
Yes.
Mike, we had a guest on, Mikey Gavoni. He does a lot of holistic autoimmune stuff. You should
you should look up Mikey.
Look up
He's
Mikey.
Unbelievable.
I go through the diets, what foods to eat, what not to eat, what to drink, what not to drink. But, I have my binging moments. I don't really drink Monsters that much, but here I am because I'm nervous
tough.
as hell
It's
being
tough.
on here. And I like my ice cream and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's
I know.
we are undisciplined.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Even though it means your health, it's like, but that fucking ice cream is really good. It's so crazy that's how our minds.
I put myself,
work.
listen, I'll
Right.
have I like salami and cheese subs, and I like Chinese food, and like I kill myself every time. As soon as I eat it, I can't move.
Yeah.
And I put myself through that, and I'm like, is it really worth it? And it's like, yes,
Right.
it is.
Right.
It tastes good.
It's like, I'll suffer. I'll suffer for a bit.
You
like
only live once.
I've met people with celiac, and they're like, I gotta eat that fucking bread.
Yep.
I gotta eat it. And then they're paying for it. It's,
People with dairy allergy, like everybody does it. You know what I mean?
I remember my sister went through interferon. A guy I worked with, he's since passed on. Cancer killed him. John Zito. He went through interferon, and that dude worked every day. He would sometimes he'd have to go and lay down in the truck, but another guy in my first home group, all his hair fell out, like big giant clumps of his hair. Like people that get treatment for Hep C today, you have no fucking idea what the struggles were with people with interferon.
Back in the
Now
day,
it's
it was
like,
ugly.
oh yes, you may have a slight headache,
Yeah.
and it's one
Really?
pill.
Yeah, this was like 8. The interferon was like 8 horse pills.
And
I think
was it
like
Pegasus?
Daily.
Was
yeah,
it
daily, and then the shot.
Then you
once
had
a
to
week.
and not to mention, I think it was like $35,000 a month.
Yep.
A
And
month.
when I did it, I had to go. So they sent you to a psychologist or psychiatrist first. You had to. It was mandatory because it like messed with everything.
Yep.
And I actually had a doctor. It was at Lynn Community Health, and he diagnosed me as ADHD, bipolar, manic depressive. So
Of course he
gave me
did.
trazodone, Adderall, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
want this. Like I'm
Yeah.
15 months sober. Like I don't want.
Wow.
Well, if you don't do
You
it,
might
then
have some
can't
nerve
do
problem.
the
Here's some
interferon.
gabapentin as well.
Yeah. So I'm taking it, and then like I'm like, I don't want to do this, and I
Yeah.
tell him. So he's like, sorry, you can't do the interferon. So I'm like, all right. Went to Mass General, didn't have to do any of it, and it was fine. And I've been at Mass General
Really?
since.
Wow. What now? Where was this?
Unreal.
Lynn Community was where I first started it, and it was in 08.
Can
And-
someone say kickbacks?
Well, that's the thing. Get a second opinion.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
And
Get a
that's
second
the thing.
opinion.
Like, I say it all the time. Like, there is nothing wrong with having to take medication, but don't walk into a doctor's office and walk out with a script 12 minutes later.
Yep.
Like, if you want them,
Right.
go and get a lengthy diagnosis. Go and see them for 30 days. You know what I mean? Like, repeatedly go back and see them so that they can track your progress. When you first get sober, you're fucked up.
Yep.
Oh,
Shit
yeah.
ain't gonna be right. You
I'm
may be
still
depressed.
fucked
You
up.
may be anxious. So, but that shit may fade. You know.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
they just want to throw pills at everything. It's sickening. It's
Yeah.
so bad.
Yep.
Pisses me off.
Yep. So I did that. I relapsed, and then I was out in good old Linland, City of Sin, and I stayed out there for about 4 years. I managed to keep an apartment with that guy for about a year. Then his family sectioned him and sent him off to treatment, and I stayed out on the street. First time really, really homeless for a
Yeah.
long period of time. Basically on just a death mission every single day. Started to eat benzos, shoot dope.
Yeah, not trying to kill yourself, but if it happened, oh well.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd been there.
Just ugly. So much pride, because I'm still better than, and I got this, and I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll sleep in the stairwell, or I'll just stay up 24/7 because I'm not going to go, stay on your couch and hang out with you or share with you or, like, do whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was ugly for, I was out there for, 2 years straight. And,
Wow.
it's like a cat and mouse game with the cops. I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
friends that are calling me. They're like, they have you on the walkie because I just had a bench warrant that they just kept
really?
getting me on, and they'd get me and I'd do an overnight, and then the judge would just let me go the next day.
I had one
Wow.
from Florida
Yeah.
for I don't even know how many years, so long, and they'd grab me on it. I'd be like, "Listen, you're gonna take me in. You're gonna call Florida. They're gonna say we're not coming to get him. It's for fucking community service. Just
Yep.
I'm telling you." But every fucking time.
Yep, $40 next day.
Yeah.
I'm up now. I have 30 defaults. My bail's up to $2,000 the next
Yeah.
time I get
Yeah.
held.
Wow.
Long weekends. Now I'm dope sick.
Oh,
in
that's
the
awful.
awful.
That's awful.
Oh,
I did a weekend in a holding cell. It is just hell.
Ugh,
Yeah.
Hell on earth.
Yeah.
Even the light stays on 24/7.
those itchy wool blankets.
You have no idea what time it is.
Trying
It's
to
like-
fucking put your head on your own sneakers or the toilet paper roll just so it's
Yeah.
not crooked and sitting on the fucking metal bed. Terrible.
Hearing
Yeah.
everyone else yelling and screaming in the cells next to
Yeah.
you.
Oh,
Shut
yeah.
the fuck up!
Yeah, I was in one with the guy. He was kicking the door and screaming at the cops, screaming and kicking the door, and I'm just like, oh, I'm all sick and shut the.
So you
Ugh.
survived out there for 2 years.
2 years.
That's incredible.
I did detox twice. It's bad when your dealer's saying maybe maybe you should go somewhere
you
for a
alright?
little bit.
Yeah, you might want to take a break. I had a dealer bail me out of jail before.
Yeah. Okay.
Fucking blew my mind. I'm like, bail? I walk out there and I'm like,
Business has been down.
is this a setup?
Business hasn't been as good since you've been in jail, so we need to get you back on the street. You must have been buying a lot from that dude.
Yeah. I even went back so he could get his $500 back too. Crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I stayed out there. Like I said, I was trying to die, couldn't. And then I got real sick, really, really sick. It was end of May, coughing up blood. Then I had 104 fever. Went to the hospital, kidneys shut down. They couldn't see what was wrong with me because I had no veins head to toe. They ended up doing a central line in my neck.
Wow.
What was sepsis?
So
That's the word I
they
was
did the
looking
X-ray
for.
to make sure they put the tube right, and I had about the size of a $50 hole on my lung. I had an abscess that burst because I was that good addict that
Whoa.
used to save, the bloody cookies because I'm not letting anything go to waste.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
holding on to
I
it.
think that's normal.
So yeah, I'd be doing that and just living on the streets in general. You're
Yeah.
dirty, you're not healthy.
Oh, yeah.
So I was in the hospital for 8 days. 8 days, and they had me more jacked up because I was starting to get sick, and because of the hole in my lung, they didn't want me gagging, coughing.
Yep.
So they
Oh,
had me on
yeah.
Dilaudid, methadone, Xanax, 8 days in the hospital.
Wow.
And then that's it. Bye.
Yeah.
See you later. Insurance isn't paying
Wow.
for anything anymore.
Really? That's
Sorry.
ugly.
So now I have worse of a habit than when I went in, and I remember going to this outreach place in Lynn, Healthy Streets, really good program, kind of like A Hope out in Boston. They're really caring.
Oh, yep.
Really good. I said, I think I need help, and I think they knew it was serious because never did that before, and there I went to the island when it was still open. Good
Oh,
old
really?
Andrew Detox.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my journey started there.
So now when was this?
This was June 6th, 2012. It was actually my birthday. So for a long time, every year that I would celebrate sober after that, I would always say it was like my spiritual birthday because like I was reborn. Like I actually, I went from Andrew House to Mattapan to Hello House. I stayed on that island for about 8 months maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Met beautiful women in the program, outside of the program, the staff, like everyone really cared. And like
Was Jack working there then? Harper?
I know Jack.
Yeah. He's a
I
good
don't
dude.
know him, but
Yeah,
I
he's
know
a good
of
guy.
him.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
And you know, it took a lot. Like I was broken. I didn't know how to live. Like first of all, I was already a mess. Like prior to living on the streets and like really picking up heroin, I was like a rebellious teen with a lot of anger and self pride. And now after living out on the streets, I'm basically like an animal. Like I don't know how to be around anybody. You know.
Yeah.
And I found a great sponsor at the time. That was Stacia.
Nice.
She said good job earlier.
She was so nurturing to me.
Oh,
So caring. I probably wouldn't have stayed sober if it wasn't for her and my therapist at the time or the staff at the Hello House.
And that's the thing. Like it was a collective.
It was a village.
You know, yeah. Like I seen so many miracles come out of that place. You know, from Wyman reentry, friggin' rebound, the Hello House, and all of that. Like, and they shut that place down, and it was like, what's everybody gonna do now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a cautionary tale, right? You got to realize that you know, although there are a lot of people who genuinely care, a lot of those people who genuinely care, they aren't necessarily the people who are in charge of keeping these places open.
Yeah.
And when you're out there ripping and running, you're taking your life and your happiness into your own hands. You know, there's not somebody necessarily going to be there for you. I mean,
but I think it was good to have that out there.
It was
You
very
know,
good.
it was you know, a lot different than just like having it like in the city. You know, because like, all right, do I really want to leave the island because I know what I have to go through just to fuck off? No, maybe I'll just stay back. And that's when the good stuff happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you get to chop it up with someone that you may not normally talk to.
right.
Or the staff really gets to know who you are. And they realize she's really not that bad. She's scared.
Yeah.
You know, but no one's ever going to say that. You know, they're not going to say they're scared of getting better.
Well,
know?
that's what it is. Like someone that's really committed, I think, in that type of field will get to know a person, will get to read them, so they'll know like their quirks or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll know if they're having a bad day, if they're angry, if they're upset, or if they're like stuck up in their head. You know.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody with the right motives and the good heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the island was beautiful on top of it. Like
Yeah.
it was so peaceful. Like the fight. Like I remember I was there for the 4th of July, so you could see the fireworks
From
from
everywhere.
every
Oh my
city.
God, that must
Wildlife.
have been cool.
Well, listen,
Everywhere.
the cats, I'm like crazy cat lady, and they had like big fat feral cats like all over the place on
Yeah.
the island with
Yeah.
the kittens, and they had kids programs on
Yeah.
there. And then I think they had one of those 7 tall ships or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Those went by when we were
Yep.
there.
Tall ships.
Like stuff that you probably normally never would have seen.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it was a
That's
good
cool.
experience. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
And lots of people going out there to do commitments.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they really struggled for that. Like some of the places nowadays, it's like no one showed
The
up.
South Shore House was really good for that. They came no matter what, even
That's
if
a
it was
good
all
house.
men
That's a
on
good
Mother's
house.
Day. They came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my sister was in the Hello House, and she was there with she was coming home for Thanksgiving, I think, and I was driving out there to pick her up, and she's like, "Hey, can you give someone a ride?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." I had like a O.J. Simpson Bronco.
Oh,
like
I remember the OJ.
infamous white Bronco.
The white Bronco.
And
I remember
she comes down with like 7 girls. I'm like, Audrey, what are you doing? She's like, can you just take him to the tee? I'm like, all right. So now
that. Clown
I do
car.
this. Now I have to make sure they all get back.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was great. Like
Yeah, but you got
we
a
had
chance
good
to be of
times. And then
service.
I remember me and my brother. It was Super Bowl Sunday. No one could go anywhere. Me and
Any
my
given
brother were like,
Sunday.
fuck it. We got like 20 pizzas. We brought them over there, and they were like, "Yeah, you guys can hang out." We visited everybody that was there and brought pizzas.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And it was
cool.
an awesome game to watch.
Yeah.
You know, it's just to be involved in and like help other people and watch them grow. That's the good stuff.
It's good stuff. Yeah.
You probably made someone's day too. Like they'll remember that, like bringing the pizza and hanging out, and it's like the little things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Was on the island, stayed sober. I went to a place called Betty's Place.
Betty's
I was
Place.
there for 6 months, and then I got a room through Caritas. I was blessed to be able to stay in like Back Bay, South End area.
Yeah.
Ooh,
The room was
Expensive.
over on Marlborough Street. Yeah. But you know, I was blessed, so I was over on Marlborough Street for a little bit. I had my get well job at a little chocolate place in Copley.
Wow.
Again, which was a new experience.
So what do they chocolatier? You were chocolatier?
It was
Musketeer.
I wasn't a chocolatier. I was a barista, and I made
isn't that
fancy coffee
coffee?
drinks.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
But on the
Nice.
other side of it, they had they made little mice and penguins, and that was an experience too. Because like I said, now I'm living out on the street for 2 years, and then I'm thrown back into this like nice environment.
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah, the only
Copley.
mice you was
All
seeing were
frou
not
frou and
chocolate.
shit. Like, fuck it.
Listen, I like terrified one of the girls. Like my first night there, like it was this young college girl, and she's like, "I get so scared walking home from school in Dorchester," and I'm like, "Listen, just put bleach in a Visine bottle and hold your key between your fingers, and like you'll be fine. Like walking if someone does anything, like
What are you? What?
you know, like." But it was, you know, and then you know the staff at the Hello House, they're like, maybe you shouldn't do that, you know, like my anger, like learning to control my anger, like with customers, like talking. Disrespect is a big thing for me. Like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if it's from when I was little, when my mom used to ignore me. Like I don't know, but like
Well,
if
it's
someone
it's and we've talked about it many times. So this started from probably a trauma when you were younger.
Trauma in
Something
childhood, yeah.
happened, and this is why disrespect is not okay with you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Right.
and a lot of things have probably stemmed off of that. Everything starts with the trauma.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard to like get through those things when you're younger. Like even
Mhm.
like I don't know, like just you know it's not right, but
Right.
like it's still like your first instinct sometimes, and then you gotta like work through it. But yeah,
Oh yeah. I've been there. Yeah.
I got very involved in meetings out there at a home group out of the
In
basement.
the South End. In the
on-
South End.
Yeah, Newberry Street,
Yep.
out of the basement.
Out of the basement. Yep.
I started a meeting. We started the Big Book meeting at 6:30 on Sunday nights, right before the home group.
Nice.
I did commitments, sponsorship. Like I actually had a family. Like it was good. And then I don't know. Like the meeting just started. I guess maybe I was too involved, and then everyone else. It was just more unhealthy for me to be in that group and that meeting than it was for
So you were
me to
doing
be
more
there.
than you should have, or
More than I should have, and then some of the old timers were getting upset because now there's more program people coming and they're
Oh.
sharing outside of alcoholism in the
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah, yeah.
And,
Oh yeah.
Tradition
well,
type
hopefully that stuff goes away.
Yeah.
tradition type stuff?
That's
Yeah.
craziness.
So it was just very chaotic.
Yep.
And I backed away from that meeting for a little bit, and then I had my own studio that was through Project Place. I was blessed to be there for about a year. Left my get well job, was waitressing. I went to school during that time through Mass Rehab. Got my KDAC at UMass, passed my test. I was actually able to do that with one of the girls that. So there was a girl that we were at Andrew Detox together. We were at Transitions together. We were at Hello House together.
Oh, wow.
Our sobriety date was a day apart, and our birthdays were a week apart. So,
Wow.
and we hated each other. Like we,
Because you were probably exactly
we
the
were,
same.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what it was. And then after, like, we went through all that together, and then was in school, like a year later together. Then we were okay. Like we had like a little bit over a year of sobriety. Like we
Yep.
both grew, and like
It's crazy.
I still talk to her today, and like I admire her.
Cool.
I look up to her. You know what I mean? She
awesome.
she's very involved in the program. And just to see how much she's grown and like the woman that she's become, like
Yeah.
it's beautiful and amazing. And
Yep.
like I wish I
Nice.
could be, you know, half the woman that she is. So
And
but,
you never know. She could say the same thing about you.
you know,
Yeah.
You know.
and but yeah, that was nice. It's good to have a familiar face too.
Yeah, right.
That was kind of there from you with the start.
Mm-hmm.
Did school, and then I met a guy and moved to Billerica and threw him out 2 months later.
Yep.
Um,
Everything changed.
So
Yeah.
now I'm in Billerica, which is very different from Boston. Everything closes at like 6 o'clock. I have
Yeah.
a car. I have
Right.
this whole apartment that isn't subsidized anymore that I'm paying for.
Yep.
Car I'm paying for. Got some cats. Like I just, you know what I mean? And I did good. I maintained for a very, very long time.
You moved too quickly, you think?
Probably.
Yeah.
But I see where my faults were at that time. At the time, I think I was trying to like fix and like help him. Like, oh, he's sad. He's,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
sick. Like, oh, you know, and
Because
then
and when we do that, we don't need to focus on us.
yeah.
Right.
know, we
Concentrating on somebody else.
Codependency is
That's right.
through the roof, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to say that most addicts and alcoholics are codependent as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not all, because some people just want to ride solo like the whole entire time. But usually, you know, we want to fix. And if I focus on them, I don't have to look at me, you know. And we're the one that ultimately suffers in the end, you know.
I stayed away from men for a long time in the beginning of my sobriety. When I came out here, I was petrified because I knew how I was. Once I started to like grow and learn like what was actually wrong to me and like take an accountability for like my behaviors and actions, like I knew that like men was a problem for me back when I was in high school.
Right.
Like I used to torment the shit out of them, like what I could do, what I could get away with.
Yeah,
like,
manipulate the shit out of them.
yeah, and like that scared me because like now I have a conscience and like now I know what's right and wrong and I'm held accountable and like I don't want to do that to somebody. It's not right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I wouldn't even look like at a meeting. Like I remember like going with Stacia to meetings and just like I wouldn't even want to go to the bathroom. Like that's how bad it was.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, so at this point, you know, like I'm 3 years sober. I move out to Billerica, and now like my only network because I'm so far away from everybody. Like I got the phone, but then I got like the people that I work with working in the restaurant. So like people are drinking whatever, but
Oh,
like I
yeah.
was isolating. Like I wasn't, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to.
Yeah.
Um,
Everything starts falling off, and
getting-
most of the time it's prayer first.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you forget to start praying in the
Mhm.
morning, and then it's like, I really don't feel like going to that meeting. It's like,
Right.
this one's calling. I don't really want to answer that right now, and just
Right.
so, and it could last 10 weeks, could last 10 months. I know some people it lasted 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, with me, 8 years in recovery, and I'm ready to friggin' kill myself. In sobriety, I hadn't done any work on myself. So let me rephrase that: 8 years sober.
I think you don't give yourself enough credit. You I think you did a lot of work on yourself,
Yeah,
but maybe you didn't.
I didn't do a lot of step work on
Step
myself,
work,
but
yeah.
I was going to see a counselor. I had,
That's right.
I had lived a religious retreat, a
Casio.
casio.
Yeah.
I was involved in a group. I had a sponsor.
You went through the hardest TC
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, and stayed plugged in for a long time, man.
Yeah.
That place was awesome. I love that
That's right.
place.
Kept your good get well job for 10 years.
yeah, yeah. Got to the point where my get well job, my boss was like, I can't pay you anymore. Like, you're maxed out, like, dollar per hour wise. So, you know, if you
Being
move on,
comfortable,
yeah,
like-
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We don't like change.
Change
No,
is-
hell no,
Change is scary, right?
hell no. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
You know what you can get away with.
Yeah.
You know what you can do. Like you just, you know,
Yeah.
like you have your routine, you have your structure.
Yeah,
Steps was a part of my story too. Like when I went through all of that, still didn't really do church, but I was like spiritual. Like
Yeah.
I got into the rebel recovery,
Yep.
the Dharma punks,
yeah.
all
what in
that.
Salty?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Very
love that
cool.
meeting.
They've opened up a couple more too.
Yep, there's one here.
Oh,
There's one
there
here
is
on
Fridays.
Fridays. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
What's
the
the-
Monday night one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Monday
love
night,
that.
right?
I love that meeting.
Yeah.
That's
I
where
went there
me
for a
and you
while.
went there
Yeah.
together. That was good.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back.
It's changed a little bit since I went way back then, but
Mhm.
it's good. It's nice because you got to learn to like sit with yourself.
Exactly.
And like, I still like go like 2 minutes of silence and then I'm like, pizza, cats, like, what do I got to do tomorrow? Like, and then I go back and then, but it's all about just training and like discipline,
training.
self-discipline.
And it's okay for that to happen. You just have to reel it back in.
Yep.
You have to have your anchor.
Breath.
Yep. So yeah, like.
So then you had to get sober all over again.
I was out in Billerica and wasn't doing anything that I was doing before when I was out in Boston. Just going to work and coming home, and I was on good old POF, and seeing what's going on, and ended up seeing somebody that I knew from my way past from, before I went to Project Hope in Lynn that, I ran with for like a month. And they had messaged me.
I wonder how he's doing.
So hung out for a couple days, and then 2 weeks later I found out I'm pregnant. And at this whole point in my life, like, never thought I could have kids. Like, doctors said it. Like, everybody was in long-term relationships prior. Like, nothing ever happened. And, like, now I'm just like, oh, my God. Like, this is it. Because, like, that guy that, like, said he was sober, like, after, like, the couple days of hanging out, like, he was Klonopin, Adderall,
so you were still sober. You were still sober at this time.
I was still sober at this point, yes.
Okay.
And,
White knuckling the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm pregnant, and he's like, oh, we can be a family, and we can do this. And then, like, I'm throwing him out of my apartment because he's getting high. There's needles in the car. Like, he's not coming to pick me up from work in the car.
This disease just takes and takes.
Yeah. And, like, I knew it wasn't going to work, but at the same time, like, okay, now I'm scared because, like, I'm going to be... I know everything's going to go to shit. I'm going to lose everything. Like, I can't do this by myself. Like, I barely, like you said, white-knuckled, like, being able to keep a roof over my head and, like, all this stuff on my own. Now I'm going to have a kid. I don't want them to grow up, like, without a father. What if I screw up and I'm not a good mother? Like... So
much stuff that can go wrong and cause so much fear and just completely keep you held back. Because we're trying to control everything, and it's, it just gets overwhelming.
Yeah, and prior to that, I was on a medication that you couldn't even get pregnant. You weren't supposed to get pregnant on because you would have to terminate the baby because of disformities and stuff like that.
Wow.
Birth
And I had
defects,
stopped taking it 2 weeks prior. And because I didn't like how it was making me feel, I didn't think it was doing anything.
So now let
I'm,
me
Googling everything.
Let me just ask: were you like, this is supposed to happen? Like, did that ever enter your mind? Like, this is what maybe this is what's supposed to happen with me.
Maybe
because I just stopped this. This is too much of a coincidence.
Too much of a coincidence, right?
Too much, yeah. Maybe, I don't know, but it was scary because, like, now I'm reading, like, oh, it needs to be out of your system for 6 months and, like, all this stuff. But, he ended up being okay, and everything was fine.
What a blessing.
What a blessing. And, I was doing the doctor's visits on my own because, like, the first two that, like, the dad decided to go to, like, he was high as a kite, and the doctor's looking at me, and I'm, like, don't even want him there. And I'm just, like, so dealing with that, like, the whole pregnancy, him in, him out, breaking into the apartment because he wants, like, mad at me for everything because I'm pushing him away. And, I'm sober, like, and now I'm pregnant, and then I'm sick with everything and still going to work, but he doesn't want me to work because that's what, a family, like, you're the mom, you're pregnant, you're not supposed to work. Well, how are you going to support us?
But he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Well,
What are you going to do?
I'll guarantee whether he realizes or not, he's suffering guilt from all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so my lease was running up on my apartment, and the benefit of the doubt, and the father of my child's father owned some properties. So he had a vacancy, said we could move in there. And I sat down with him, and I'm like, okay, if we move in and I throw, so-and-so out, am I still going to be able to stay here? Because, like, I'm leaving everything, my apartment, all this, to move in here and save money. Yes, you'll be fine. So I move in. Father wasn't there to move, was MIA, so now I'm, like, 4 months pregnant, with a moving truck, having to call his sister and my brother, who's now pissed because like he disappeared. And a month later, he goes to check in with parole and had his dad's truck, who was supposed to go to a wake that night, and then the parole officer calls. We had to take him in. He has to do his time. Showed up so high that he couldn't even stand. He's lucky I didn't charge him with an OUI.
Yeah.
So now the dad is pissed. Next day, tells me I have to leave.
So, because he thinks that you're getting high with him.
That, or just, I mean, I was mad at first, but now I can't blame him because he's from Lebanon, so like old school, like, wasn't happy with my appearance, so that like I was the mom, and who knows, he didn't even know if like his son was the father. Do you know what I mean? Like we were only together for such a short period of time. Like he doesn't know.
Right.
So now like I'm being told I have to leave, so I have to move again. Now I have no money. My work ended up taking me off waitressing and putting me on hosting, which is a very big dollar difference.
Oh yeah.
Going from like $200 to $300 a night to $12 an hour, 6-hour shifts. I was very sick between like stress and everything else. Had the arthritis going on, so like some days would be good and then some days would be bad. The pregnancy, the father, like everything. And I ended up moving into an apartment in Andover, and at that point, you know, I picked up.
And how? So you were?
I was about 7 months pregnant, and you know, I didn't tell anybody, except I think Stacia was like the only one that knew. Like I was ashamed, like very, very ashamed. Like I had 4 years and 9 months of sobriety. Like
4 years and 9 months.
4 years, 9 months.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one.
7 months pregnant, so like I can feel my baby move. Like all I wanted to ever be was like a mother, and here I am picking up. Like what the hell is wrong with me? You know what I mean? Like disgusted in myself, like angry, guilt, shame, embarrassment.
Guilt,
And I didn't tell anybody, and you know, I ended up overdosing at the wheel, and thank God my son was okay, and I ended up being okay. I was sectioned at that point by my mother. My brother was the one who took the dispatch call for the town.
So he worked for the town?
He worked for the police station. So when I got to the hospital after that, my family and I, we have a very rocky relationship. I was never close with my mother, never close with my brother. He's very codependent on my mother. My dad was always kind of there and always talked to me the whole time. I think he had his own guilt and stuff about not being around when I was younger, and then with my addiction now. And
but you had said that your dad had gotten sober, right?
Yes. And
I imagine it would take a very brave parent to deal with a heroin addiction person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's tough, very tough, you know? I mean, if someone's not strong, I mean, I could see, you know, you just can't deal with it. You just use the excuse of, well, it's their fault or whatever, you know? Just tough thing.
I remember when he first found out when I was using, Somerville Detox was still around, and like he dropped. My mother knew the whole time, but she didn't like quite understand it. She thought it was like pot or like a drink, put it down, whatever. And I remember him driving me to Somerville Detox, first detox, and he's like, you know, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know, go to detox. And he's like, you know, heroin addicts don't get better. Like you're gonna die or like end up living out on the street. Like you can't come home. You know?
Yeah.
And at that point, I hadn't been home anyways. Like, I moved out, like, right when I was 18 and, like, was always out on my own. And then when I was running out on the streets in Lynn, like, I never talked to my family. No relationship with my brother. And then even when I got sober after going to the island, my mother didn't talk to me until 3 years of sobriety. And since I've had my son, I haven't talked to anyone in my family except for my grandmother.
And your son is?
My son is 2. He just turned 2.
Oh, wow.
So
now, is that by choice or just?
A little bit of both. So after I overdosed and ended up in the hospital, my mother sectioned me, and then I had to go to court because of that situation. And because my brother was the dispatcher for the police, my mom was writing letters to the judge, which was kind of had nothing to do with like the case, saying that I didn't deserve to be a mother, that she didn't want my son, that my son had horrible parents, and that he'd be better off in like foster care. So like now I'm dealing with all this
Wow.
stress.
That's trauma. That's
Anyways,
tough.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's supposed to be my mother.
Hmm.
So
This is while being sick, while being pregnant, while trying to get sober all over again.
yes, and
Ugh.
I was very blessed to have Stacia, and
Mhm.
also at the same time, my son's grandmother, the father's mother,
Okay.
is very involved. She invited me to move into her home after I lost the apartment in Andover after being sectioned and stuff.
Yeah.
She
Very
held on
good.
to my cats for 2 years. It was supposed to be 2
Wow.
months, and it was 2 years. And
Now
like,
you said the dad's from Lebanon. Is she from there as well?
she's not,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
And she has a new husband too, so very. But yeah, he's great too. Her new husband. But she's very involved and like very supportive, and like was going to court. And so part of the reason of my parents not talking to me, on top of what I did to embarrass them or while I was pregnant or whatever, was because they found out I was talking to my mother's mother. Like, I grew up with no family. They shut everyone out on both sides.
Yeah, yeah.
So they took
Wow.
it as like a betrayal. But when I got sober in 2012, like, I hadn't talked to my Nana since I was 18, and now I'm like 28. She didn't do anything to me.
Right.
Like, in that time in recovery and like growing, like, I wasn't scared of my family anymore.
Mhm.
And like, I reached out to her, and I was
Oh.
blessed that like she got back to me. And
That's kind of cool.
so they cut me off for that, and I have
That's
the
not
same
cool.
therapist. No. And my son's a joy. Like, he's a blessing. Like,
So they're missing out.
they're
Yeah.
missing out.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like
Yep.
he's getting what he needs, whether it be from them or not. And they're the ones that are gonna regret it someday.
One thing I've learned on this journey is that your family is who you make them. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
have to be
yeah.
blood.
Yeah.
Because even blood can treat you like shit or be dishonest or unhealthy. And just because you're healthy doesn't mean that everyone else around you is going to be
No,
healthy.
not at all.
Yeah, but as long as there's another day of life, there's another hope.
Yeah.
For change, for the
Yeah,
better.
you never
never
know what could happen.
Yeah.
You're taking care of your son and providing him with the things that he needs, and like I said, they're the ones that are missing out.
You just keep, we as recovering addicts just keep putting one foot in front of the other, doing the next right thing, and the fucking life gets so much
Yeah,
better. Life
you
gets
just
so
provide the
good.
best life that you can for your son,
And that's a reward in itself.
yeah.
It has been for me, big time.
Mm.
Yeah. And it is, like, that's all I can do. Like, I still get stressed out every day. Like, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. And,
Wait a minute, wasn't I perfect? I thought I was-
But, like, all I can do each day is, like, try not to lie, try and teach the person, like, try and give the person next to me as much respect as, like, I want to be given. Like,
Mhm.
let
That's
people
it.
know that I'm available and, like, I can be trusted today. And if I fall short a little bit today, when I wake up tomorrow, like, I just try and pick up where I left off. And, I know we're like cutting close on time, I think,
Yeah.
but
We're good. Couple more minutes.
yeah, like, I had my son was taken from me. That was a horrible experience because like, now I just gave birth. I was sober at the time of his birth. He didn't detox. He had nothing in his system. I reached out to my old therapist that I had from Holo House in 2012. She was there for me, no questions asked.
Wow.
And I
That's
went
pretty cool.
back. It is. And I'm a big believer, like, everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
And I went back to transitions, and when they were doing my paperwork, my admission date was one day off from when I went 5 years prior. So I think I went in at like June 15th 2 years ago, and it was June 16th in 2012. So
Wow.
yeah.
Nice.
They catered to me a little bit, but I needed it because I hadn't been in any kind of recovery or treatment for almost 5 years. And now, I'm wicked hormonal, just lost my kid, don't know what's going to go on, like, lost family that, like, I just got back.
Right.
So they gave me a single room, Then I went to an awesome program in JP that was about like 14 beds with wild turkeys in the backyard. Like,
Nice.
But it was nice. It was
Yeah.
what I needed.
Yep.
And familiar faces because it's part of Hello House, so they
Okay.
split the staff.
Oh, really?
So some of the same staff was there. And
That makes you feel good. I remember having that experience too. Coming to, like, the same detox, and you're like, well, at least I know somebody.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and especially with all the guilt and shame I had, like, and like I said, I didn't tell anybody because,
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
didn't want people to look at me like, oh, yep, she did what everybody else did. It's like, what kind of person is she that, like, she got high with her kid in her stomach and, like, this and that.
Yeah, judgment. Is,
Yep.
tough
Stigma,
to deal with.
judgment, you know.
And,
Oh,
yeah.
so what's it like now?
So now I am in school. I'm going to school for medical assisting over in Brookline. I
Nice.
just
Good stuff.
received a housing voucher, so now I'll be able to have a stable roof over my head for my son and I. I'm blessed to have found an apartment a 5-minute walk from Fenway Park.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a nice area too.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Very good.
Star Market's right there, Target's right there, which is huge with
Yeah.
not having a car and
Yeah.
a very
You do
active
well in
kid.
Boston, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, you talk about not having a car, and that's due to when you were pregnant and you had the
Yes.
accident.
When I had the accident.
that your brother got the call
that
for.
my brother got the call for.
But things are looking up now.
Yeah.
Things are looking up. I have my son. He was actually born 2 days after my birthday. I went into labor the day after my birthday. He was like
Nice.
2.5 weeks early, but he's my little Gemini twin.
So he just had a
Mm.
birthday.
Yep.
June.
June 8th, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
Nice.
he's starting to talk. He's in daycare. He loves his new apartment. I thought it would be hard for him to adjust because we were in
Listen,
programs and shelter the last 2 years.
kids are so resilient,
Yeah.
and as long as they're being loved, because
That's it.
you know, I worried about my daughter, same thing, and like if you
Got to give them unconditional love.
yes, if you can make it
Boundaries.
fun for them, and you know, it's all in how you present it to them, you know, because that's what and you know, certain things did affect her, you know, like she's
Of
4,
course,
she's
yeah.
4, she has a therapist, but whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, if it's helping her, I just want to make sure that she's okay. You know what I mean?
Yep.
She has great people in her life, and that's like you're saying, chosen family. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They don't have to be blood to be family. You know, and as long as you surround yourself with people who want to see you do well, see your son do well, and lift you up, you know, like
That's it. Stick with the winners. That's
yeah,
what they say.
you know, you have toxic people in your life. It just, you know,
Very hard to deal with.
yeah, it sucks. It sucks all the
Especially in
essence out of
early
everything.
sobriety.
Yeah, it's good being back in Boston too. Like when I came back here, like
Mm.
after losing my son and then getting him back and everything, like I was back in my old environment, like back with the people that I knew. Like they were a lot closer
Yeah.
than when we were in Billerica.
Yeah.
You know, we still have like crazy schedules and then we don't see each other all the time, but they're still there and like I feel comfortable. You know,
Yes.
AA people.
AA people,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, and
Nice.
like the people I know and the people that I have in my life, like, you know, people from years ago, it could be years that I don't talk to these people, and they're never once like, why the fuck haven't you reached out to me? They're like, how are you?
Yep,
What's new?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we never missed a beat.
yep.
Like
Mm.
that's like, those are the real true friends that I've made around here. You know what I mean? It's
Gold.
it's awesome.
gold.
And and like you said, it's like you never missed a beat, and like
Yeah.
they know what's wrong, and they know if something's not
Mhm.
wrong, and it's just it's that comfortableness. Like I
Yep.
feel like safe and like good, like I know what's going on.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
they'll call you on your
Nice.
shit.
Yes.
You know, that's
Yeah.
we all need that. We
Yeah,
all
we
need
do.
that, definitely.
That's a very big thing because I like to, you know, I can do everything myself. Like I don't want to
Oh,
let you know
too
that I'm
independent,
stressing
yeah.
out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But those
I-
that know me,
I
like,
never do that.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
ever.
fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fine. No, I got this. You
Yeah.
know, because for me, like from 7 years old, it was like I had to do everything. You know, like there was no one there to ask for help. Mom was always working. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Hmm.
so like here I am coming up on 47. Like, so I did that for fucking 40 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of tough to just back off of that and say, you know what? I need help.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, asking for help's always
Yeah.
tough. But
Pride,
When you're
ego.
crying when someone forgets to put cream in your coffee, like it just breaks down. So like that, like little
Yeah,
thing,
exactly.
like emotional
Exactly.
meltdown.
Yep, the smallest thing, and it's like, You know, I'm definitely a crier too. That's all right though.
All right, good
So
stuff.
yeah, so it sounds like you're doing well, and you know, we appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You know, I'm sure that there's lots of women, you know, that need to hear this as well.
Right,
You know,
can
because
relate. Yeah.
I can't tell you how a woman feels when, you know, something happens that happened to you. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can tell you how I feel, but you know, like I was talking to someone earlier today, and I said, you know, I remember a time when you know, and it's not like that now. I remember a time when a girl would raise their hand in a meeting and ask for help, and no one would fucking go up to them after.
Yep.
No women would go up to them after. And,
Really?
you know, now you see 2 or 3 guys that are not creeps or predators going up to this woman and say, listen, here, go talk to that lady.
Yep.
Go talk to
Right.
that lady, you know, because there's no one, you know, we're definitely different. You could take 40 guys, throw them in a house, they're going to fucking get along. You take 40 women, put them together, forget about it. It's a different ball game. I don't know why, you know, but, you know, things have changed a lot today. I see so many strong, solid women in recovery, and you know, and that's because they've done work on themselves.
Yep.
You know.
Very nervous to come here today. Thank you for having me. It's been a while since I've done anything like this, and especially to come out and say everything that I did.
Yeah,
because
it was
like I
awesome.
said, I haven't done that, but I was always taught when I got into recovery that when you were asked to do something, you
Yes,
do it,
yes.
unless you're like absolutely physically like not
Right,
able
and
to.
we appreciate you.
Yeah, we
you
really
know.
appreciate it.
And I know that like I might not think so, but like my story might be able to help someone else
Absolutely.
get out. And,
Absolutely, that's right.
You know that they're not alone.
Yes. And anyone, you know, if anyone reaches out to us that, you know, clicked with you or whatever, you know, we could forward them on, or they can, you know, click on your name and send you a message or whatever.
Because anything is possible.
Yes.
And I've seen, like, going through that program, I saw so many other women that, like, didn't stay on the right path because they were so, like, you know, afraid of being judged, so hurt, disgusted with themselves,
Right.
and they didn't fight because they didn't think that they could do
Yeah.
better, that self-doubt, and then they
Right.
just ended up losing out more, and it's tough, you know?
Yeah.
And you just need that support around you. That's, like, the biggest thing is the support, healthy
Yes.
support.
Exactly. Healthy support. And, you know, if you're looking for help, you can reach out to us. If anyone wishes to be on the podcast and share their experience with us,
Yep, hit
reach
us
out
up.
to us as well.
Yeah. Please
LO
subscribe.
Yes, LOLTerms.com. Like, subscribe, share.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yes,
once again.
no podcast next week, but the following week we'll be going live from Recovery Rocks. I will put I'm actually going to put something in the comments later. This concert is to benefit South Shore Peer Recovery Center. You know, and all the stuff that they do. They have a lot of meetings out there as well. It's at 51 Cole Parkway in Situate. So if you're not doing anything next Thursday night, come out to Situate.
Yeah,
Enjoy a
come
nice
by.
night and concert and food. All that,
For-
everything's included
for a
with the
great
price of the
cause.
ticket. Yeah, great cause. So, thank you again, Nicole.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks,
And we'll see you when we're looking at you. Peace.
Peace.